Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome to the Global Association of Islamic Schools Spotlight. This is our sixth edition in the series. And today we have our guest, Imam Adam Jamal, who will, inshallah, speak to us about Quranic.com and the Quran app that he created in a few minutes. First, I'd like to begin. Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. I want to ask Imam Adam to maybe share with us his journey of knowledge seeking. This Quran app is about seeking knowledge as Muslims, and it is a lifelong journey for all of us. So, Imam Adam, welcome and thank you for joining us. If you can maybe share with us your journey of knowledge seeking and how you got to this point as Imam in a thriving community and all of the work that you've done and what that continued journey looks like, inshallah.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah. First of all, thank you for having me on today for this program with people that do such important work, which is to teach our children in an Islamic environment, in an Islamic setting, to try to give them not only the knowledge, but also create that environment that we know that they need in order to succeed, not only in this world, but in the next as well. So Jazakumullah khair for having me. And the work of education is tireless, but it is what has an impact, alhamdulillah. It is the thing that is the great equalizer. It is the thing that helps so many people to change their lives, and it is the way of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who was not just someone who was a speaker who would come and give a nice talk and leave, but the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was there every single day with his companions, dealing with their problems, teaching them, taking those teachable moments, and it was every day for 23 years from the time of his prophethood. And I would argue even before the time of his actual prophethood, when he became an actual prophet, he was still a person who was part of his community and someone who was well known in his community, a sadiq al-amin, the trustworthy, the honest, the truthful. And so we know how he was there all the time for his community and for his people, for his family. And that's something that each of us strive to be, and each of us are as teachers. So alhamdulillah, jazakumullah khair for having me on. In terms of my introduction, I'll just tell you a little bit about myself, inshallah, but I started my journey at Darul Ulum in England. I was actually, to take a step back, I was born and raised in Houston, Texas, and in the United States. And when I was around 16, in the middle of high school, I really wanted to go and study the deen. So I went to a madrasa in the United Kingdom, where I had some family friends. I was young, so they were able to kind of host me and help me, and help me to kind of get started. And I did my 2 years of Arabic there in England. And then I continued my studies at the European Institute of Islamic Sciences, which is an Islamic university in France, of all places. And I completed my degree in Sharia and in Islamic law over there. After which, I spent about a year in Cairo studying Usul al-Fiqh and other subjects with scholars of Al-Azhar. After that, I was an Islamic school teacher. I guess the fast-forwarded version, I was an Islamic school teacher. I completed my master's in education, and then I was working at Bayyina Institute, first as a teacher, and then as also the director of the DREAM program for which was begun as a 9-month program for around four or 5 years. And after that, my most recent appointment is as one of the imams at the Muslim Association of Puget Sound, which is MAPS. The acronym is MAPS, based in Redmond, Washington State, here in the corner near Seattle, the headquarters of Amazon and Microsoft and all the different software companies. And at that time, I was inspired to, when I started my journey as imam, I also was inspired to take everything that I've learned over the years with my degree in education and my affinity for technology, to work with a team to produce the Quranic app. And it's a mobile application which has helped, alhamdulillah, hundreds of thousands, more than 1 million Muslims all around the world to learn to understand the Quran in a bite-sized way. So what I'm here to talk with you about is that application, as well as the other supplementary curriculum that I've produced to go with that application. So once again, Jazakumullah khairan for having me on. And I didn't mean to go on about myself, but it was just a means of you kind of seeing where this journey has happened. It didn't start from yesterday, but it's been many years, 15 plus years of this. Jazakumullah khair.
Well, Yakum, and that was the point. I really wanted the audience to hear how long your journey has been, and what your background is in, and why this was important to you. And I think that you said you were inspired, but you saw the need for this, and that there was a thirst in our community. I want to also welcome our audience, whether it's morning, afternoon, or evening. Welcome everyone from the global community. You can begin to put questions as Imam Adam begins his presentation. You can put questions in the chat if you have anything, and we'll follow up after his presentation with a Q&A. And I'll let him begin with an introduction of why this Quran app is important, and maybe a little bit about as Muslims in our connection to the Quran, and being close and connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have to know and understand his words through the Quran, and as a means of becoming closer and staying connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, understanding what we're reading is critical to our well-being as spiritual Muslims, inshallah. So please type in your questions in the chat as Imam Adam begins to explain to us the Quran app and its value, inshallah.
Jazakumullah khair. I'm just going to share my screen, inshallah. Just give me 1 second. Bismillah. Hopefully you can see it, inshallah.
Yes.
Okay. So Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So I wanted to, I'm not going to, give the whole kind of thing, but I wanted to talk a little bit about how to connect our students to the Quran. And that's such a important thing. That's always been an important thing for me in my journey as having taught at Islamic school. I remember my first year as a teacher and how hectic it was. And I was told I was the Islamic studies teacher, and I had to teach one class. I had to teach every single class in the school except for pre-K and kindergarten. So I started from first grade all the way to 12th grade, 2 classes at a time, 6 periods a day. And so in one class, I'd be in 12th grade lecturing on, the emotional intelligence of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. and the next class with the first graders, talking about whatever we talk about with first graders, making sure I get a nice cup of coffee before I step into the first grade classroom. And so I appreciate the journey of the teacher. And I remember uh, getting told that, oh, can you produce a curriculum? And I said, I said there's 6 periods. So I was also the curriculum producer, and I said, okay, so what should I base it off of? And this was before, I think it was right before all the online kind of resources that we have now. Obviously now it's a lot, it's much easier, but back then it was like, okay, we have a library, we've got 4 books in there, can you just read the books and figure it out? So that's how it was. And it was an amazing experience. And it was wonderful to see how the students interact with the material that you produce, and how do you really engage them so that they're not just doing, rote memorization where they're just memorizing without understanding, um, but they're memorizing as well, but they're also understanding, and not only understanding, but hopefully applying it and really thinking about how to apply it in their lives. So not just thinking about something with its initial definition, but also beyond that in terms of how to actually apply that in your life. So for me, the language of the Quran was an incredibly important thing. I think I was always drawn to it. I wanted to not only study it, but I wanted to speak it. I wanted to be able to read any textbook in Arabic, in the language of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And it was something which I not only wanted for myself, but I continue to want for every single Muslim, because I feel that our 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 deen is so connected to the Quran and to its language, because we believe that the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the Quran. So it's not just about, oh, let me learn some Arabic so I can speak to the sheikh who's Egyptian, who's the imam of my masjid. That's not the main purpose. The main purpose is to understand the manual which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent to us. And for every Muslim to be able to understand that is something that um, I've made my life's mission. Not just for people to learn it, but for people to, number one, want to learn it, and number two, for that to be accessible to them, no matter their social class, no matter their background, and so on. I would love to hear from the audience and those that are tuning in. Please do type into the chat and introduce yourself, so that so that I can get to know, where you're from, who you are, who your students are. I see there's sister from Mexico, mashallah, brother Irshad, already using the application. Alhamdulillah, that's a beautiful thing, and I really appreciate that. So I'll go ahead and get started here, inshallah, with some of these slides, and I wanted to talk about kind of what it all is. So one of the things that we've been doing is we've been building kind of a network of teachers that are interested in um, this program. And now we have, alhamdulillah, over 15 schools. This is just a few of the schools. We have over 15 different masajid and schools that are using this curriculum. I want to talk about it, inshallah. And this program is for Islamic schools and Arabic teachers looking to incorporate Quranic Arabic into their curriculum. And in terms of the age ranges, it is for, generally speaking, 4th grade and up. Now, what I've seen is that for most Islamic schools, the students are able to read pretty fluently as the average student, not just a couple handful, but the average student is able to start reading the Quran around 4th grade and up. So before 4th grade, the focus really should be on getting them to be able to read fluently. That should be the primary focus. And once they have that, then they can start their journey on understanding the Quran. I've noticed that for students, for example, who aren't able to attend, don't have the ability or the privilege to attend a private Islamic school full time, those that attend, for example, public school, and then, for example, have Quran classes during the week, I've noticed that they usually start being really fluent in Quran if they maintain consistency around 10 years old. So I would recommend 10 years old for those that are not in a private Islamic school, and those that are and kind of get that extra time as early as fourth grade. Anyway, so what are some of the main challenges that we see within the teaching of Arabic? Having been an Islamic school teacher myself, what are the main challenges that we see? Number one, a huge challenge is that there's multiple student levels in one classroom. Usually because our schools, mashallah, they are of a certain size, what ends up happening is that you have multiple student levels in one classroom. Because, for example, all of the sixth grade is taking Arabic together. Now the challenge is you have Muhammad, who has been in Islamic school for all his life, and then maybe you have Abdullah, who just joined this year and has never actually studied Arabic. So now you have all these different levels in one classroom. And that's a challenge for the teacher because the teacher has to essentially have multiple syllabuses, multiple curriculum in just one class, not just all of their classes, but just each class as well. Number two, there's a huge need, especially during COVID, we saw that in math and STEM and English, there's so much innovation and new technology and things that you can use to help the teacher and the students. And we really need that innovation for Quran and Arabic classes. We also realize that many students don't connect with Quran and Arabic. I remember that students in one school where I was teaching, every year before I was there, they would memorize some Quran, and in the summer they would forget it and they would repeat that year after year. So much so that for some of them, 10 years had passed and they had never studied the seerah of the Prophet Muhammad SAW in whole. And they had not studied, the 40 hadith of Imam Nawawi or any of the important things to our deen. So how do we really make sure that they connect with Quran and Arabic in a deep way? That's not something that's lost every summer, something that they're able to take with them wherever they go. Number four, we also realize that it takes time for students to see results. So having something which is consistent, it's going to be necessary. What is the structure of Arabic? What does it really take? Is it enough to do it once every week? What is the structure that you need? Number five, professional development. I remember, again, when I was a teacher, I was handed not a textbook, not an educational teacher's guide, but simply a book that someone had written for the average Muslim. And I was told, turn this into something that can be taught to first graders and 12th graders. And anyone who's an educator knows how challenging that is much easier said than done. And the people who were saying that to me, they were sincere and they were qualified and they knew that it was a challenge, but they said, this is what we have and this is what we need to do. And and all of us as teachers, we're always up to the challenge. But to have more ability to have professional development and academic resources is such an important thing. Number six, every school we find is working on their own. So every school is doing something different and has a different system. And so how can we work together so that we're not taking time away from what we could be doing for our students, instead focusing on curriculum development? How can we work together to solve that, inshallah ta'ala? So about myself, I did introduce myself. Alhamdulillah, we started the Quranic app in 2017, and we won the Muslim App of the Year in 2020, and we have, alhamdulillah, over 1 million downloads from both of the app stores. Now, here is the application itself. Actually, I have, what I can do is I can share my my actual phone so you can see that as well, and you can get a bit of a demo there, inshallah. If I can find out how to do that. There we go. There's always a. There we go. Okay, alhamdulillah. So this is the application that we have, alhamdulillah. So when you first enter, you can see at the top, you have, and I know because it's mine is, you know, the all complete, so that's why it can be a little overwhelming at first, but we try to make it easier for the new users. You have a few things. I'll start from the top right. So the orange pill, that's your Quran progress. How much of the Quran have you understood? Out of, there's 128 words that were mentioned more than 100 times. There's 109 words that are mentioned 50 to 100 times in the Quran. So you can see how many of those words you've understood over your journey. There's also the red button, which I'm about to tap, is a streak. And a streak means every day that you do this, your streak goes up by 1. So you can see how long you've been doing this program and how consistent you have been, how disciplined you've been in making progress. And subhanAllah, the amazing thing is we started 5 years ago, and the person with the most streak has nearly 4 years of streak, meaning they've been, every day they've been using the application, doing a lesson or something, and improving their understanding of the Quran every single day for 4 years straight. And that is an incredible feat. And that's just an amazing thing that we've been able to provide this and work on this as a team. So on the left here, we have vocabulary, and on the right, we have grammar. So for vocabulary, we start with, if you don't know the alphabet, you can start with the alphabet. So it's a basic way to understand like going through the Nuraniya, but in kind of digital format with a little quiz and a test. I'm not sure what happened there. I think it turned off. I'll just restart it. Hopefully you guys are able to see it, inshallah. The app is called Quranic. I see in the chat someone is asking, what is the app called? It's called Quranic, Quranic. And you can find the website. Oh, the sister just posted it. It's at Quranic.com. Jazakallah khair, Sister Layla. So we have the alphabet. There's a little quiz there as well. And then we have the stories of the Quran. Now the thing about this was, we really thought about, you know, how can we teach Arabic? Because if you've seen language learning applications, I remember using Duolingo to learn some Spanish, and it would have you practice sentences like, the bear is drinking beer taking beer from the refrigerator. And it was, number one, you know, beer, astaghfirullah, and number two, it was a nonsensical, not beneficial sentence. Why do I need to learn those things first? And so I was testing what is the best way to keep people's interest in wanting to understand the Quran. So the layer that we used to produce this, we said we're going to teach people through the stories of the Quran, because the stories of the Quran, they are so powerful, they're so interesting, they're the ahsanul qasas, they're the best stories that are in humanity from Allah Himself. And so we started, for example, you start with the story of Maryam alayhi salam, and you start with the first lesson. It tells you how many new Quran words you're going to learn, how often just those 7 words occur in the Quran, and how much Quran you will understand in total, not just based on this lesson, but I've done all the lessons, almost all the lessons, and so it tells me my total there after I finish this lesson.
Imam Adam, can you share the screen again so that they can follow what you're referencing?
Sorry.
Yeah. And I would encourage, yes, and in the audience, I would also encourage you to maybe go ahead and download and log in so you can follow along on your own.
Yes. Jazakallah khair. Sorry, it was I think, I guess it had crashed or something. But anyway, that was my computer error, not the application. But so we have the screen again. It shows you what your new words are, how often they occur in Quran, and what your total understanding will be. So we tried to use illustrations. We don't show any of the prophets or anything, but we tried to use illustrations to make it interactive. Um, and now you can tap on the words, and you can hear the audio. I don't know if it's shared on this, but at least you can hear the audio. And um, when you go through it, you can tap on the different words and begin the story. And this is engaging for youth and adult, alhamdulillah. And you have little helping tutorials.
So just
Yeah.
sorry, just to clarify, Imam, when you click on the blue highlighted word, it you hear the word, so that you hear the
Exactly.
yes.
Exactly. So you can start to put it together, which words are being defined, and once you use it, it's really intuitive, and especially young people, they really catch on very quickly, alhamdulillah. And even teachers that are not teaching Islamic studies in Arabic, don't have that background, they can use this to do this, inshallah. And we tried to do illustrations that were obviously, you know, still maintaining our Islamic principles, and by consulting with scholars. So that gives you some idea of the Arabic kind of section. And then there's a little matching exercise, which is my favorite. And you can match all the words that you've learned. It gives you your streak, and you can review your words, or you can continue to the next lesson.
Yeah.
So when you review them, yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out a couple of things that one, the storytelling is incredible, because as human beings, that's how we remember things, right? We're creatures of storytelling, and the Quran is, like you said, filled with stories. But you've also gamified this with repetition. So you know, unfortunately, we all have our cell phones in our hands constantly, but this is one way that it can be beneficial, so that you take a minute or two a day to just kind of repeat in these words. So, and it's like a little game. You do it for a few minutes, you refresh, and you can move on. And I thought that was one of the probably the most likable experiences with the app, because it's not complicated. It's very simple to use. And I think that both children and adults, like you said, would enjoy that gamified, piece of it.
That's, you know, I'm so glad you mentioned that. Trying to make it interesting for youth, because, you know, I mean, the ideal is we can just do what we've always done and learn. But as you know, the times keep changing, evolving, and the needs of people, the attention spans, how they are now with TikTok. You know, people have 30-second attention spans. So how can we keep people's attention in order to learn, inshallah ta'ala? We also have a grammar section that goes through the Arabic grammar as well. And most of this, alhamdulillah, 95% of the users, if not 97%, 98% of the people who use this app, they use it completely free of cost, without having to pay anything. There's a quiz feature where you can keep track of how strong your words are. There is a My Words feature, so you can review all the words you've learned kind of in a vocabulary kind of way. And there's also a filter there, so you can filter the words. You want to see your strong words or your weak words, and so on. There's also a way to translate Quran verses, where you test yourself and you translate all verses of the Quran. And then finally, we have here also recently we added the whole Quran in there. And one of the things we really wanted to do was to show you how much of each surah you understand. So you can see there, based on how far you've gotten into the lessons, it'll update how much of each surah you understand. So you'll see 80%, 85%, depending on how far you've gotten, eventually getting to 100%, inshallah ta'ala. We also added a reading rooms function. And that's a beautiful thing that we added recently, which I really enjoy, because people are, mashallah, logging in from all over the world to read Quran together and to learn from each other. People who don't have community, people who want to learn the Quran. These are people right now at this very moment live are reading Quran together, and they are learning together, and that's again completely free.
MashaAllah. Imam Adam, I just also wanted to point out here, you mentioned in the beginning how when you were kind of catapulted into the classroom and told you're a curriculum developer and you will instruct ages 6 through 16, which does happen in our Islamic schools. One of the things that we try to focus on in our Islamic schools with Quran is teaching the vocabulary so that students understand. And I think it's beautiful that this new feature with testing how much of each surah that an individual can understand, so that this can even be used as an assessment by a teacher. Okay, we've learned the vocabulary, or this is amazing. I think it would make Quran teachers' lives so much easier to just implement some of these features, and the fact that they're fun and engaging. This looks like an amazing tool for the classroom. MashaAllah.
Jazakallah khair. That's an important point, and that's one of the ways in which we wanted to support teachers. One of the functions we have is a kind of leaderboard. So you can open a leaderboard. You can call it, for example, Noor Academy, and you can, Miss Fatima's second grade class or fifth grade class or whatever, and you can have it with your students. You can have that's just our little test one, but you can see here the streak. You can see how many lessons they've completed, and you can see how many quizzes they've done, and you can kind of see everything from your students. And you can see here all the different streaks around the world, like Brother Zishan, who has 1,200 points in his streak. And you can see from all over the world where people, they've done the different features and they've been using it. And you can have the whole world, which is like the whole of everyone, or you can make your own for your specific school. So you can, like I said, you can type, Noor Academy, and then your name and so on, and you can create it and have all your students and you're tracking them. We also offer a subscription, and again, most people don't use the subscription, and it's priced depending on where you live and so on. So different countries have, based on currencies, lower prices, just because of we want to make it accessible once again. But we have some extra features, some smart filters and so on. But really, it's about giving people a way to support this mission, and it's definitely not required. And most people don't use the subscription in terms of actually subscribing, because we wanted to keep it as accessible as possible. And over the years, people have advised me, you should just do a free trial, and then everyone has to subscribe to increase your subscriber numbers. And that was never my intention, to block anyone from learning. As long as someone is consistent, they should be able to learn, and that's been an important goal of ours. And we also started doing a monthly challenge. And again, I know I don't want to overwhelm you all trying to teach you everything in one go, but we also did a monthly challenge, so you can have a challenge. For example, for July, did you do something every day to get your points for the day? And you can finish, for example, the month of July with all your points, and you get 30 points. And if you complete a challenge, you get a badge. And for every month that you complete it, you keep that badge. And for Ramadan, there's like a special badge, and so on. So that's kind of the application as a whole. I'll go ahead and go back to my slides. I don't know how we're looking on time, but I did want to share a little bit more from the school's kind of curriculum that we really wanted to talk about as well. So I'll go ahead and transition. Alhamdulillah, we have a whole team of brothers and sisters all around the world, from the US here, also in India, in England, Canada, in Sweden, brothers and sisters who've made this program possible. Alhamdulillah, we have thousands of reviews on the Google and Apple app stores from people all over the world, telling us, how we're doing, what we can improve, and that is something that we're constantly having that conversation. What can we do better, and how can we improve this application? Alhamdulillah. And so we realized that our students wanted more than the application, and so we gave them more, and we developed a system of courses. And you can see here the textbook that we produced, alhamdulillah, which is purchasable on Amazon, and it's the lowest cost on Amazon for Quranic Arabic, because again, a big goal was we want to make it accessible. We want to make sure that that people can use this, and so we developed that curriculum, and we created a teacher training. You can see here my face down there. We created a teacher training modules so that you don't have to experience what I experienced, which was that you start you start your school year and you're told you're the curriculum developer, you're the teacher, you have multiple classes, and you're also a first-time teacher, so you don't even know what a teacher's voice is. You don't even know that voice that you need as a teacher to get your students' attention. You don't know how to do your grading. I remember I did one of my tests. I did 100 fill-in-the-blank questions. Oh, it was a rookie move. And now here I was grading, into the late night evening, multiple late night evenings, and I had my friend from the math class come and help me to grade all of these Sira questions. I did 100 fill-in-the-blank questions. Then I realized, okay, I should do multiple choice. I should do something else because I cannot do that. And I remember one parent coming to me and saying, my child is failing Islamic studies. Are they a bad Muslim? I said, they're not a bad Muslim. They just don't do the work in my class. If they did the work, they would succeed. So you always feel you want to have that balance between pushing them and challenging them and make them feel successful in their deen. Because they feel like the report card for Islamic studies and Quran, it's like a report card on their deen, you know what I mean? So on their level of religion. What we did was essentially we produced a Quranic Arabic program in a box. So it includes our application, the 4-year Quranic Arabic curriculum in 2 volumes, and then teacher support, how to teach this program in a bite-sized way for teachers, because I know teachers don't have a lot of time. So in a bite-sized way for teachers, and the teacher training, the cost of it, once again, I don't want to focus too much on cost, but it's about kind of making the wheels spin. That's all it is. But for teachers in particular, because this is something that I'm so passionate about, our teacher training, the cost is just $1. It's $1, just to show some kind of commitment to it, that you're not just there to explore, but you're there to actually be serious about it. It's just $1. Any teacher from anywhere, a mother teaching her children, teacher teaching at any Islamic school, any masjid, any youth group, halaqah, anything, the teacher training is just $1. And you can get the book from Amazon. It's shipped to you. We just wanted to make that incredibly accessible to Islamic schools. And that teacher training, it includes a lot of the things that I described here. We also get requests from schools. Can you produce a Surah Al-Kahf workbook? So we produce that. Can you produce a Juz Amma workbook? So we produce that, where students translate and reflect on the surah after they complete, the first two volumes of the Arabic grammar. Then they can start on translating Quran. That's kind of the program in a box. And I did have some more in terms of what Quranic Arabic is and what do we even mean by Quranic Arabic. But I will stop to take any questions or comments before I continue into the last kind of section here.
Jazakallah khair, Imam Adam. Do we have any questions in the chat, Brother Abid or Brother Idris? If not, I have a couple of questions. Can you talk a little bit about the effectiveness or the success with these schools? Like, what have you seen, like the data coming back about how much students have learned and how effective it is?
Yeah, alhamdulillah, for example, the students that are being taught in my own community, initially I was teaching the program and then I handed it off to a different community member, one of them who's a student of mine, the other one who's a friend of mine, and they had not looked at this curriculum before, but I had given them the teacher training and they went through it and they started teaching. Alhamdulillah, they did a full year in the community, and the graduates of that program have gone on to skip the Arabic curriculum year of, for example, here in the United States, we have Qalam Institute in Dallas, Texas, where they have a 5-year, full alim program for becoming a scholar, a sheikh, an imam, for both brothers and sisters. And one of the students of this program was able to skip that first year, and another one, he's inshallah he's testing now, he's in the interview process, but he hopes to also skip the Arabic year for Qalam Institute in Dallas, Texas. And that was a great example of someone having that level of Arabic, that not only can they use it themselves and use it to understand, but kind of in a third-party way, they accept that, you know enough to, not need to take our full first year of Arabic learning. Obviously, the students, they did prepare, and I did prepare them. I did work with them specifically to make sure they were ready, and I kind of mentored them. But I think that was the foundation was from this curriculum in terms of how to understand the Quran. And the other beautiful thing that I see in my classes and in the different classes is you have families who are in the masajid that are taking it together. So you have incredibly, children as well as adults that are taking this program. And I think the biggest success is when a school says we'd like to use this program again. When they say, for example, we have a trial year and then we're going to continue, and alhamdulillah, that's been the success of the schools coming back and wanting to continue their time. So we introduced the curriculum about 2 years ago, and so we have around 5 full-time Islamic schools and then 10 institutes and masajid that are using this curriculum for the past 2-3 years. So we'll be getting to kind of, I guess, the graduation point for those Islamic schools in the 4th year, where they've completed all the volumes, and then we'll be able to have that full kind of impact study of what those results were after that kind of 4-year for the Islamic schools themselves.
And what does the 4-year program mean? What have they gone through in the 4 years?
Yeah, and I can share with you a little bit about that. So I'll skip through a lot of this.
Actually, there was a few weeks ago, maybe a couple of months ago, there was a question in our Global Association WhatsApp group about what is Quranic Arabic and why are we calling it Quranic Arabic? Just the term itself came into debate, and maybe you can expand a little bit on that terminology for us here.
Yes. I had one teacher in was it Portland, I think, where she said she was a professor of Arabic and at the university level, and then she was teaching in her community. And she said, "What is Quranic Arabic? What is this that you have going on?" You know, because she was simply told, "Hey, this is the curriculum they wanted to teach," and so she was curious, like, what do you mean by Quranic Arabic? Why not just study Arabic? So, what is Quranic Arabic? Why do we need this other Arabic? Why don't we just teach Arabic like we normally do? And I thought that was a great question. And so, with that in mind, I kind of see traditional language learning, like what I did when I studied Spanish in high school, aims to make progress on all four skills, which is speaking, reading, listening, and writing. Right? That's the traditional way, and it's very good and it's very important. Um, for understanding the Quran in particular, we don't necessarily need to be able to speak it, and we don't necessarily need to be able to write it. And I know that Arabic teachers, they just think, how can you say that? How can you say this? But it's not a matter of saying that something should not be done. It's more a matter of prioritization, because we simply only have so many hours in a day, in a week. It's a matter of, how can I get these students started? How can I get us started on a journey to understand the Quran, and inspire them? Because I, for example, I started just with, I'm from, my family's from Pakistan. I did not grow up speaking Arabic. I had to take a 2-year course in Arabic in order to begin my journey. And before that, I had no idea, did I want to speak it? Did I want to write it? But in my study of it, as I studied it in the books, I became passionate, and then I wanted to speak it. I wanted to write it. It didn't need to be forced on me. So it's simply a matter of time and resources and prioritization. It's not a matter of saying, no, you'll never learn to speak and you'll never learn to write. It's simply a matter of saying, let's prioritize these two first for the Quran's sake. Also, we have, for example, all Arabic words. It's a huge, it's the most in-depth language in the world. There's so many words in Arabic that you can learn. And the vocabulary you need to read, for example, an Al Jazeera article is different from the vocabulary you need to listen to a lecture by Sheikh Muhammad al-Sha'rabi, one of the most prolific scholars from Egypt in the modern era. To listen to a lecture from him is a different vocabulary base, and to understand the Quran is a totally different vocabulary base. So you can ask someone who is by a native Arabic speaker from Egypt, from Lebanon, from anywhere, and that you will meet many people who speak Arabic every single day but don't understand the Quran, um, because the vocabulary set is different. And you might have someone who understands the Quran, like I did, but then opens up an Al Jazeera newspaper and says, well, I don't know this vocabulary. I need to learn this now. This is totally different. I don't know how to say helicopter and a helicopter, and I don't know how to say, all the stuff that goes on in the world. I don't know how to say all those because I've just been focused on the Quran. So it's simply a matter of prioritization of the words in the Quran. And then even from within Quranic vocabulary, focusing on just the high frequency words. Those are the words that are used a lot. For example, you have the word as-samad. How many times is that used in the Quran? As-samad, right? In Surah Al-Ikhlas, Qul huwa Allahu ahad, Allahu samad. It's used one time in the whole Quran. And then you have other words like the word and, wa, and min, from, the basic kind of words. The word Allah, that's used thousands of times in the Quran. And so we kind of split up, made a pyramid structure of all those words and how often they occur. And this is what we found. These are the top 10 words in the Quran. You learn these and you already understand a quarter of the Quran. Now, can you put it together, all that? Of course, it's a different question. But the fact that Allah has made it easy in this way, where He has repetition, He has used easy language, simple language, where you have just 10 words, they make up 25%. You can see at the bottom there, 24% if you learn all 10 of these words.
I think
So that
one of the beauties of this is, I didn't mean to, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off,
go ahead,
is
go ahead, go ahead.
as you learn this vocabulary, and I think one of the most prominent times is like in Ramadan when you're in Taraweeh
Of course.
and you're listening to the Imam. Because although I born in an Arab speaking home, I learned it as a second language as an adult, and I remember just when I first realized, oh, I understand what the Imam is saying, and that that feeling you have in your heart, that just that you light up and you're like so excited. And I think that's one of the beauties of this, is that you can quickly see that, oh, I know what this word, even if it's la or min or fi or qala, especially if you're starting at zero, which many Muslims, because most Muslims are non-Arabic speaking, and just picking up a few words at a time, it will really change the way you engage with Allah's word, with Allah's book. And I think this is amazing, and anyone can do it, right, at any age. And it's beautiful the way that you have broken down the data, the words, how many times you see them. This is incredible because you can track yourself, you can track your students, and it's so easy. And one of the ways that we all get motivated as individuals is to see that progress, and it's so easy to track with this app. MashaAllah, tabarakallah, may Allah reward you for every letter that is learned through this, and everyone who's been involved in this project.
I mean, Jazakallah khair, Jazakallah khair. And so, Jazakallah khair for again having me, and for inviting me here. And yeah, I can take questions. Hopefully that answered the Quranic area. Obviously there's a whole thing, but I think what I will suggest for people is to visit our website. It's getquranic.com. So GET Quranic, Quranic, getquranic.com. And there you'll see at the very top, you'll see a section that says for schools. So there you can see this whole presentation. Um, you have this whole presentation there, and you can understand kind of what the background of this topic is, whether it's right for you and your school, your masjid, or whatever. And again, the teacher training is just $1. The textbook is the lowest possible price that we could put on Amazon, after paying for shipping and printing and all of that. It's print on demand, so they print it and they send it to you. The name of the textbooks is Understand Quranic Arabic, or you can put my name in, Imam Adam Jamal. Myself and one of my students, Dr. Fatima Hasifa, she co-wrote it with myself. And so you can put Imam Adam Jamal into Amazon, or the book's name, Understand Quranic Arabic. And there's 2 volumes. The first volume covers your basic, those of you that know Arabic, Jumla Ismiya, Jumla Fi'liya, but does it in a plain English way. So we don't call it Jumla Ismiya, Jumla Fi'liya, we call it something else. If you take the teacher training, you will know, inshallah. But we call it in a way which makes it easy for students. And then volume 2 covers what we call sarf, or Arabic morphology. We don't call it that in the textbook because the word morphology makes you turn off as a student, but we just say these are the verbs in the Quran and the different ways in which they use, and the patterns. We really focus on patterns because the idea of patterns really is so interesting in Arabic. When you learn that ilm, from it comes alim and ma'loom and muta'allim and so on, and mu'allim, and it's just a beautiful thing. So we study those Arabic, or the sarf, in the volume 2. And then volume 3, which I did not write, is literature. So we take you through a journey of Arabic literature. You start with Qasasun Nabiyyin, you read I'rab al-Quran, or the grammar of the Quran in Arabic, and then finally with Tafsir al-Sha'rawi, with the great Sheikh of Arabic, Sheikh al-Sha'rawi, who did his tafsir, which is a beautiful tafsir for beginners. Beautiful, beautiful tafsir. Of all the beginner tafsirs I've used, that is number 1 on my list, because the way he brings in stories and his simple language that the average person can understand, it's amazing. So that tafsir of Sharawi is the final kind of step in that 3rd volume of Arabic literature. So that kind of takes you through each kind of thing. And then, people say, well, what about speaking Arabic? So what I recommend for Islamic schools, they do Quranic Arabic in middle school. And then in high school, they do what you call spoken Arabic. and they prepare their students to take, usually in 10th grade, 11th grade, when students can take exams to get college credit for language. So what you do is you prepare them for speaking in high school, in 9th and 10th grade, when they're, I guess, I know it's for international, that's like 13, 14 years old. That's when you start doing or maybe 14, 15 years old, you start doing the college credit kind of. You need to speak now, and you need that vocabulary, refrigerator, and microwave, and all those things. But the middle school, you just focus on Quranic Arabic, get them passionate, get them interested. No student should leave your Islamic school without understanding, at least 80% of the Quran, just with their vocabulary. Inshallah, you can do that, and you're in our du'as. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you barakah in your classes and in your teaching, and keep you on the straight path, and help all of us to keep on the straight path. And as we are united here today, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala unite us all in Jannatul Firdaus, the highest levels of paradise, and under His shade on the day when there is no shade but His. Jazakumullah khair again for having me. And I'll leave it to you, Sister Layla, to tell me how it goes at the end here.
Right. We don't have any more questions in the chat, but Jazakallah khair for an enlightening session. MashaAllah, there's so much to review here. So I encourage our audience to log into the website, download the app, play with it, and see how you feel about it. And see how easy it is to use. And look at the website for your schools, for your weekend programs. Like Imam Adam said, you can use it in any setting, mashallah. And I'm sure that the website allows you to reach out to someone who can guide you through the process if you want to do this as a school. Again, Jazakallah khair, Imam Adam, you, and I'm sure the whole team that has worked on this for years to bring it to what it is today. May Allah continue to make it beneficial to our community and reward you all for this work and its benefits. Thank you for our global audience for joining us today for our 6th edition of our Spotlight series. I will ask Imam Adam to close us out with a dua, inshallah.
Jazakumullah khair, Dr. Layla, and Brother Abid as well, who's been organizing this and putting all this together, and all of you for making time from your busy day, your busy Saturday, for attending. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما ربنا إنا نسألك علما نافعا ورزقا حلالا طيبا وعملا متقبلا ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Ameen. Ameen. Jazakum Allah khair. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa barakatuh.